Hey, very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. If you are in the State College area and you need to go through Lamont, don't. My goodness. I mean, they've been working on that for a while, but the construction is, the delays today are unlike anything I've experienced, at least. Now, I'm usually coming through in the morning. I've been pretty good about avoiding that area in the afternoon. I kind of forgot about it today, and by the time I realized what was happening, there really wasn't anywhere to turn around and go an alternate route, and so my apologies. We're couple minutes late anyway, getting on the air here this afternoon, but lots to get into. Busy Memorial Day weekend and a busy week coming up. Start with some Penn State baseball talk. A heck of a run for Mike Gambino's squad at the Big Ten Championships out in Omaha. Of course, that's the same city that will host the NCAA World Series later this summer. And Penn State went in as the number 8 seed, defeated the number 1 seed Illinois, defeated Michigan twice, and ended up squaring off in the championship game against the number 2 seed Nebraska. And this is one of those things. I mean, I get it. Everybody knows the format going in, so I get it as far as it goes.
You stealing my thunder.
But Nebraska got clobbered earlier in the tournament.
First game.
Came back through the losers bracket to get to the championship game.
Correct.
Why not make it? And yes, in part, this is because Penn State is on the short end of this. But at the end of the day, both of those teams had one loss
Correct.
in the tournament.
I thought about
Penn
that.
State's was a 1-run loss, by the way, to the number 2 seed. Nebraska's was, I'd have to look it up now, but it was not a 1-run loss.
They got 10 runs.
It was a 6.
Ohio State 10 run and 15-5.
All right. So, and Ohio State was what, the 6th seed?
Yeah, it was just set up
or
different.
The 7th seed, right? They were the 7th seed. So you had a team, and again, I understand it. I get that everybody knows the rules going in. But just so we're all clear at the end of the day, in a tournament where Penn State lost one game by 1 run to the number 2 seed, the team that advances automatically out of that tournament is a team that lost by 10 runs to the number 7 seed. Now, you tell me, does that,
I know that
at the end of the day, why not make that hey, if you've not lost, you have to be defeated twice?
You would think so, but that's why they had 2 different brackets going.
I get it.
To get rid of that. I mean, I know that's how they set it up, but I'm with you. I thought about it yesterday. I'm like, you know what? We're out with 1 loss. This is bull. Yeah. You know, that Nebraska should have had to beat Penn State twice yesterday.
I agree.
And
they may very well have done that. If they, I'm not sitting here telling you definitively Penn State would have advanced. Maybe Nebraska comes out and pounds Penn State in the second game. We'll never know. And again,
great job.
It's
Coach.
Set up the way it is. But yeah, Mike Gambino was very enthusiastic. I think that's a fair
pretty
way
awesome,
to describe it after the loss in the championship game. Very upbeat about what this year's team did. Kind of the turn in, I guess, expectations, if you will, for the program moving forward, and very high. He was talking about winning multiple, not a Big Ten championship, multiple titles in the near future. So good stuff there. Congratulations. And again, both the Penn State baseball and softball teams feel different right now to me in terms of expectation, in terms of where they're at, number one, but really expectations moving forward, kind of the enthusiasm around both of those programs. And I think it's a big deal.
Enthusiasm is right, because there was those. I mean, I know it was Tuesday night hot dog night, $1 hot dog night, but they were getting 5,000 to 8,000 people, and they were mostly students at those games.
They need more dollar dog nights.
I'm just saying. I mean, you're right. They made it fun to go to a baseball game, because no one has done that in the past since I've been back here. I'm working on 19 years. I don't remember people saying, hey, we got to go see the Penn State baseball team play today. No one did that. And they did the dollar dogs and stuff like that. So they started getting them there. But then if you listened, I mean, I talked to Scott Walker with the Spikes, and he said attendance was great for those nights, but it was also much better this year. And it's just get up there, see the park, watch the baseball team, enjoy it, have fun. It's a great thing. I mean, like my nephew and his friends used to go up there last year and stuff like that. So it is picking up steam, because if you recall, I mean, you and I have been here for how many years? You've been here forever. Spring, like late spring sports weren't really a big thing here at Penn State for a while. You're right. In baseball and softball, there is definitely a new era of like confidence and stuff like that around those two programs.
And I think part of it too,
we're opening our show talking about it.
Well, yeah, and a part of it is, I think, just the approach that Pat Kraft is taking within the athletic department, where, again, the expectation, I think, has been raised across the board for Penn State athletics. And
we're not here to compete. We're here to win Big Ten and compete for national titles.
Yes, and so I think that is a big deal moving forward. And again, I think Penn State, not just baseball and softball, but again, across the board now, the expectation is, hey, we need to be out there again in the running for Big Ten and really national titles. And, if you're going to compete, let's go ahead and compete. And it's not to say that every year, every team is going to be in contention for a Big Ten title, but it is to say that, yeah, again, if we're going to be putting a program out there and funding it, the expectation is, one, will provide the resources you need to contend, and two, you need to contend on a regular basis. Again, is it going to be okay to have a down year here or there? Of course. And again, not all teams are going to be right on the brink of winning a title every year, but you want to be competitive again in all of the sports in which you are competing. And I think Penn State historically has done a good job in many of the sports, but I think it's just kind of a different feel right now where the resources are going to be provided, and let's go out and truly compete at the highest level in anything and everything we, being collectively the university, compete in.
Would you say that's an Olympic sport or no? Would you
baseball and softball?
Them in okay. Yeah, so there are teams that need the funding and stuff like that. Do you think they're running a little bit scared right now? This is a totally it just popped in my head. I'm like, because they're sitting there, there is no talk of cutting programs and stuff like that, but it's like, you think Gambino was saying last year before he took this job, wow, I don't know, man, they may be cutting programs up there. Who knows,
Well,
scared a little bit. I don't know.
With the uncertainty in
and that's what exactly
college sports right now.
Yeah, uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean nobody.
Oh, dude, I got one for you, Headley.
Yep,
I got one for you. So me and Booch were talking earlier. So you know how the back money's got to come from the conferences and the universities to pay the back players from 2016 on, right?
Yep.
We're okay as a Penn State university because we are self-funded. We don't use tuition money. We don't use state money for our athletic programs. Now imagine,
not yet. Yeah.
Well, okay, but now just imagine you're a person from West Virginia who graduated in 2019.
Yep.
And you owe $75,000 in school debt.
Yep.
And now West Virginia owes these football players, and you can throw Rutgers into that same mold too, because they don't make money, into that same equation, and sit there saying, I went to Rutgers and I went to West Virginia, I owe $100,000 in student loans, but yet these football players who use tuition money to fund their football program are now getting back paid.
Well, it is going to be interesting moving forward. That tuition component, I think, is going to become a bigger deal in terms of, hey, if you're receiving X amount of money for your job. And, I do wonder whether we're heading to this being how Penn State is these days now, it's a state-related institution. It's not a state university. It's a state-related university. Might we get to the point where these are university-related athletic teams? Not university athletic teams, university-related athletic teams. And, if you want to go to school while you're at Penn State, cool. You got to pay tuition for it out of the salary you're receiving. But you don't need to, go to school.
3 years ago, I said this.
Yep.
I said, I had a what's the word? Caveat to what I said of the NILs. If you're making $200,000 or $300,000 in your NIL money, then I personally think that you should be paying for your own education.
Yeah, and again, it's not going to be NIL money. That's a separate thing. But the university, out of the television agreements and the broadcast rights, it'll be interesting. I think there's again an argument to be made either way. There will be folks that then you're taking the academics out of it altogether. Excuse me. Have you been paying attention? The academics are already out of it. I'm with you for those that want to bemoan it and agonize over it. I'm with you. I really am. I'm right there with you. But that ship has already sailed. The academic component is not a driving force in college athletics any longer.
That's you. I'm with you. I mean, I understand what you're getting at. And,
well, it's not what I'm getting at.
No.
It's what's already been decided. It's what college athletics has already
we need to completely
decided.
Break this whole thing down from last week, because it was just completely just levied on. It's like, I mean, we knew it was coming and we could talk about it, but it's like, I really want to talk. I mean, I really want to know, this $2.7 billion, there's 1.7 coming from the NCAA are paying the first 10 years. Okay, so then within the next 10 years, the conference is going to pay. This is just the back money to these guys. I need to ask, why is it 2016?
Why is what 2016?
Why is it revert all the way back to 2016? Why is it not 2012 or 2010? Or
I think that's when the lawsuit was filed.
Is that what? Okay, I figured that was it, but I didn't have. I was just trying to think in my head, like, why in the heck would, why 1990? Why 2016 was that cutoff? I don't understand, but you're probably right. That was probably when the lawsuit was, enacted. I guess it goes back to that. And man, I don't know, man. I mean, Jeff. I mean, think about these numbers. And you got $2.7 billion coming to these kids. That's just for the back pay, right? So we're talking all athletes on campus, right? So all Division I sports, all divisions. NCAA is it Division 2, 3, 1AA? Do you know?
No, this would be. I mean, they may have a separate.
I thought I told all the lawsuits. I thought that's what they did last week. Was they just did them all 3 or 4 together. And
oh no, this is just settling the class action suit that was filed. There can still be. This is just a settlement in that particular case. And moving forward with this agreement that the power conferences have signed on to is an agreement that they will, moving forward, figure out what the pay rate is for student athletes. And
so that $20 million has just been speculated. It's not been agreed upon as of yet.
No, that was agreed upon for the Power 5 conferences.
Going forward.
Correct.
And then the 2.7 going back.
Well, the NCAA will cover that.
1.6, but no, the conference has got to cover 1.1.
But the conferences are responsible for the money moving forward, so they have to come to an agreement, and it'll be collectively.
The NCAA owes 1.1. They owe 1.6 now, and then within the next 10 years they owe 1.1. So they're taking that whole 2.7. Okay. I thought there was conferences involved in that 2.7.
No, collectively bargained, a collectively bargained agreement. Now, what all, again, there's a lot of details that need to be worked out in terms of how this will be handled moving forward, and whether or not how extensive this agreement moving forward extends needs to be determined. Whether or not there are other divisions, other conferences that are involved, and to what degree they're involved, all of that is still to be determined. Again, there is a ton of uncertainty right now revolving around all of this in terms of the numbers, how those numbers will be divided up, and what ultimately it is going to mean for intercollegiate athletics and for, I guess, the schools and the athletic departments moving forward. And again, all of that is still, there's still a whole lot of moving pieces in terms of how all of that money will be divvied up. And part of it is that you have to get an agreement from the student athletes, and the student athletes, have to figure out how they're going to go about collectively bargaining.
That's our question from forever has been who is negotiating for the players right now?
Yep, that is a very good question, and that's got to be ironed out in pretty short order here as well. Probably at some point this summer, we'll at least have a better idea of it. A couple of other events from over the weekend. Boston College wins the NCAA women's lacrosse title, defeating Northwestern by a goal, 14-13. And then Notre Dame wins its second straight men's national championship in lacrosse, a 15-5 resounding victory over Maryland. And the Kavanaughs had themselves a pretty good day. Chris with 5 goals, Pat with 6 assists. That's not bad work in a national championship game. And Notre Dame wins a second straight national.
You know what I was impressed with?
Yeah. Who?
4 guys on Notre Dame play football and lacrosse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how well, Jim Brown is considered by many to be both the greatest football player ever, and also considered by many to be the greatest lacrosse player ever. And it is amazing how well the skill set seemingly translates from football to lacrosse, or vice versa. State College's boys lacrosse team is having a season and a half, and probably half of their roster, including 2 of their biggest stars, Ty Salazar and Cooper Brushwood, are both football players, very good football players, and have been kind of the spark plugs, I guess, if you will, the scoring stars anyway, most consistently this season for State College.
Now, there's kids right there who are 18 years old. But 18 years ago, State College did not even have lacrosse, probably.
Not as a varsity sport. Nope. Yeah, I don't know when that came in. That's been within the last decade.
Tyler Kaluza, the head coach, he comes in here. So I'll see him after the show. He'll be at practice. He'll come in there and have dinner a couple times. So I'll sit there and say it. I'm like, dude, how many guys are on your team? Do you see the pictures of the team?
Yeah.
There's like 40 to 50 guys on the team. And you're like, holy crap, man. That is the fastest growing sport in America. And it has been for a long while. Glad it's happening up here. I mean, even Bellefont's got a pretty competitive lacrosse program. So, I mean, State College is perfect. But, I didn't play lacrosse growing up, but my high school is probably one of the tops in the state, maybe even the country for all I know. But Marco, growing up in Long Island, Marco was a 6'5", 300-pound offensive guard. He played lacrosse in high school.
Yeah,
he didn't play basketball. Me, Andre, and Jeff played basketball. He played lacrosse and football. But I mean, when we were growing up, it was Long Island and Baltimore were pretty much the only 2 areas that really played lacrosse, and now it's nationwide. It's absolutely enormous in the Denver area. in the Denver area, and even in getting parts of the Midwest involved there. It's crazy how big, how much that sport as it has exploded. I think because a lot less kids are playing football right now, that they can get their little aggression out and this and that by hitting people and playing lacrosse. I mean, if you watched it in the Notre Dame Maryland match,
a very little of
Dame
it.
Was a bunch of bullies.
Yeah, I saw about 5 minutes.
They were very physical and beat down Maryland, and that was, that's not something you normally see with the Maryland team. But I mean, Notre Dame playing that tough lacrosse. But I mean, I had friends who were lacrosse coaches when I was football coaching and stuff like that. So I sort of got into the sport there and got a little understanding of it. And because my wife's like, I don't understand it. And I'm like, well, think about this. It's a lot like hockey with the sticks and the ball. You can't grab the ball with your hand, and it's a lot like basketball with the setting picks and play actions and stuff like that, and running a ground offense. And then it's a lot like football because of the hitting and the aggressiveness that goes on. So, but it's what do they call it? The fastest game on 2 feet is what they've called lacrosse for years, and it's fun to watch. I've never played, but I mean, if it's done, if you're watching a good team, it's pretty damn impressive to watch.
No doubt about that.
And I will say it again: the craziest people on this earth are lacrosse goalies. How do you not wear? How do you not wear pads on your legs? I just don't think the cotton sweats are going to stop a vulcanized rubber ball coming at you at 138 miles an hour. It's not going to tickle. It is not. But we'll give you a bigger stick, though. Here you go. You can use the stick. Protect yourself, man. Holy crap!
Have fun.
Crazy.
Kids. Have fun.
No, but that was good. I've always watched. I got a little spot in my heart with the lacrosse thing. Because I used to, when I was coaching, I used to go up every year Memorial Day weekend up to the University of Maryland and watch it. I used to go up with Fitzy to go see it and watch them. And when I moved down south, I still went up there every year to watch it. So it was always a fun time. Good people, fun times, good party people, buddy.
No doubt. No doubt on that front. Your Phillies are in a slump, losing to the Giants.
But great news last night.
It's not looking good for your Phils all of a sudden.
Great news for the Phillies last night.
Yeah.
Angel Hernandez was retired.
So
that means that Schwarber and Bryce Harper are going to get kicked out of 5 less games each this year because they hated that man.
Well,
he hated them too.
They had to get in line though. There's a long list of folks that I think are rejoicing at the announcement.
Cangelosi telling us that story when we were away at the tournament about Angel's dad and stuff like that. I got a little soft spot for the guy now, a little bit, but man, all you got to do is watch some of the games he's umpired and some of the reactions from players, and it takes a lot for players to get, like when Kyle Schwarber flipped out a couple years ago, because it's just, again, you just want to be consistent. If you're going to call the low strike, call it all game. Call it on both teams. Don't start moving don't start changing the rules. It's like we say in the Super Bowl every year. The last 2 or 3 years, the Rams, Bengals, and the Chiefs and the Eagles, referees were making decisions late in that game, and it's just like, were you calling that in the first quarter? Don't try and just keep it consistent. If you're going to call it all game. Don't change the rules late. But with Angel I have heard that there's more umpires that are going to get shooed away a little bit, and rightfully so. I mean, there's ways to grade these guys now. And I saw one guy's grade today, and I was like, he missed 25 pitches in a game.
Well, so one of the things that is happening, it feels like we are not going to be long for having home plate umpires, right?
I'm not. I know where you're going with this because you've talked about it, and I feel this. I do feel that you do need that human element, but you got to have.
I will miss. I mean, it is going away. I
think
that
it's going to go all balls and strikes on electric.
Yes.
Wow.
I do.
Base pass will be
and
umpires?
it is going to take away an element of the game.
Yeah.
That I think is kind of a fun element and a significant element, which is that strike zone and having a catcher who knows how to frame a pitch. And yeah, having, different umpires, different nights, call it just a little different. Now you want it to be, as you said, consistent, and you don't want it to be crazy. Like if something's, 3 inches off of the out of the strike zone in any direction, you don't want that being called a strike no matter what. But yeah, I think we are going to get to the point where it is, yes, it's going to be, you're just going to get the word down. Hey, that was a strike.
So we're
that was a ball.
Putting a beach chair back there like we're playing wiffle ball back in the backyard, and if it hits the chair, it's a strike.
Well,
will base umpires be out there, or
I think that part will still be there. Now you could argue that they're somewhat useless even now because, and this is the other thing is that what all is going to be. Because not every, balls and strikes are balls and strikes. And I think just now, to me, it feels inevitable. I don't know whether it'll be next season, a couple of years, but I'll be shocked if within the next 5 years we don't have umpires calling balls and strikes. I don't see any way.
I think that they'll weed people out more. And they'll get rid of more.
Yeah,
there are bang plays that you watch. And the technology is unbelievable when the coaches are going to their headsets and knowing within like 15 seconds to review that or not.
Yeah,
that's very impressive how fast that's being done.
Yeah,
but it's also very impressive that like these guys do make the right call most of the time.
Yeah,
the balls and strikes are the ones it's easily the most confused and clean.
And again, not everything is going to be reviewed, so I think you'll still have the umpires out there.
Well, you got to have somebody to play
in the field. Yeah, maybe. It'd be interesting to see how they handle that if they decide they can go with the 3-man crew or not. But
I just have a play and then go right to the tape.
No, you have
rotate the umpires coming down.
Yeah, you just have just divvy it up a little differently.
I'm in the part that I don't think they're going to get rid of the umpires. I'm in that side of the.
I wish they would. You really think they might not?
I think that they'll stay with them. I think that they'll try to weed these guys out, the guys who were like the constant, really, really bad guys. But the problem is they wanted to get rid of Angel years ago.
Yeah,
but the players or the umpires union wouldn't allow it. That's the biggest thing is getting through this union and, make some stipulations of these guys and say, your next contract and say, hey, we reserve the right to get rid of these guys if they're not, if they're not pulling their weight, if they're making consistently, if you're making 25% of the calls, maybe not 25%, that's a lot, but we figure it's 2 teams. And if you're missing 25 balls / strikes and you're making the wrong, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a ton for a person to miss.
Take a break here. We are back with more of the Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today. And coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in here on a Tuesday edition as just watching the remembrances of Bill Walton. Just a very, every now and then you get the, that person was one of a kind. Well, that dude was one of a kind. There is no question about that. And leaves a wonderful legacy behind. Passed away at the age of 71 after a battle with cancer. Yesterday was obviously part of the UCLA dynasty, and then went on and was a terrific NBA player, and just again, a very unique personality, and was had a unique broadcasting style. For sure. But he was fun. I mean, he I think
harmless,
got a lot out of life, and certainly lived it on his terms.
You old enough to remember his
there's
heyday?
a lot to be said for that. No.
Nah. But my older brothers and like my uncles and stuff like that, and people that I know that are old enough, like they were like, dude, that guy was dominant. Absolutely dominant. Yeah. Like, no. Just and unreal athlete for being 7'1", and then you watch like I'll go back and I'll watch like the 77 highlights of the Sixers versus the Portland Trailblazers. This is before his injury started mounting up and his feet started to get bad, but they didn't know how to diagnose stress fractures in his feet.
Yeah,
so he played 3 or 4 years completely hurt, like wounding himself on a nightly basis, and he's still out there playing. Because he doesn't want to be known as, the guy who's not playing, or he went in there and told him, like, I can't play tonight. My feet hurt that much. And they would, they started giving him a moniker. But all the people I know who watched him back in the day are unbelievable. He said he was insane. And I guess that the 77 NBA title, which is Dr. J, George McGinnis, Darryl Dawkins, and stuff like that, that was the superstar, a.k.a. Michael Jordan type of team, where the team, which was the Portland Trailblazers with, Walton at center, the team won the title versus the one-man superstar. So I don't know. I enjoy because I've seen those games, and he was damn good, man, really good. But the only thing I remember him is bench, waving a towel for the Celtics back in the day. That's the only thing I really remember him as. I don't remember him at UCLA, obviously, nor with Portland. I was too young for that, but I remember him late in his career, and I was like, this guy's a stiff.
He did have some great stories from all of his playing career and beyond. He was a great storyteller on top of everything else.
That's what everybody. I mean, everybody you read about it or you see on Twitter and stuff like that, always nothing but good stuff to say to them. Like they never saw him have a bad day. He was always happy, always upbeat, and always this and always that. And I didn't like him as a broadcaster personally because I just think he just call the game. But he really had a uniqueness to him when it came to that, and sure going to miss it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, as with everything about him, it was just his own style. It wasn't really emulating anybody else, and it was not a style that really I think anybody could emulate either. So
I did see a story.
One of a kind.
Somebody interviewed him one time, and they're like, "This is not a lie." He talked for 1.5 hour straight, without commercial, without any interruption from anybody, about Fire in the Mountain, a Grateful Dead song. Just about a sports interview.
Yep, that sounds right.
He talked for a half hour.
Huge Grateful Dead fan among many other things.
I saw him talking about bringing Bird and McHale and the whole Celtics team to when Dead came to Boston. And they're like, what is this all about? He goes, I'll show you. I'll take you guys. And he said, the funniest part about it, Jeff, is he said that everybody in the team went except for Danny Ainge's wife wouldn't allow him to go.
There you go.
That's weird, but it's pretty funny. But he's one of those guys you'll miss. He was bigger than life.
Couple of other things. Have you been following the trial with Dr. Scott Lynch versus Penn State Health? So it has been heated at times. I guess almost inevitably in a trial like this, there's a lot of back and forth, which again is kind of inevitable when you have the suit that he is bringing. I wanted to just not so much talk specifics, although we can certainly talk specifics about this trial or case and different thoughts, but it is one of the things that one of my takeaways, I guess, from it, and it's something that I've thought about over the years. Just again, I get to room on the wrestling road trips with Dan Monthly, who has been the trainer for the Penn State Wrestling program for well over 30 years, probably going on 40 at this point. And he is exceptionally good at what he does. I mean, like somebody that stays up to date on the very latest techniques. You talk to any wrestler who has been worked on by Dan Monthly, and there are other athletes at Penn State that will seek him out because of the reputation and his ability. And again, he uses a lot of connecting the brain to the rest of the body and getting the brain to kind of do the healing for you. It is a pretty intricate balance that the human body has, and you have to really know your stuff, which he does, to be able to do some of the things that he does in terms of getting the healing power to where it's going to go. One of the things that I think is challenging, and there was something that just never made sense to me back when I first started broadcasting or getting into the media business at Penn State. And this was, late 80s, early 90s. And Penn State at the time was across the board, they were doing the same strength training program. So you had a women's gymnast and an offensive lineman and a sprinter and a baseball player, an outfielder for baseball, and a women's tennis player all doing basically the exact same workout. And instinctively at the time, I'm like, well, that does not make sense to me.
When did you
Now,
think that?
Penn
Mid-80s?
Penn State would,
You thought about that in the mid-80s, that was odd?
Oh, this was late 80s, early 90s
You
when
realized that was odd?
I started covering. Well, it seemed odd to me because I'm like, just instinctively, you wouldn't think an offensive lineman would need the same training same strength training as a balance beam specialist on the women's gymnastics team.
But it's still a workout. I mean, that's where I'm at. That's where I would have been in my head. Like, we didn't know what we were doing back in the 80s. I really don't think we did. I mean,
I don't know.
Lifting and nutrition. I mean, there were sports that were very, very good at it, but then as a whole, as at Penn State, I mean, we didn't have strength coaches for a lot of times, and a lot of the strength coaches were for multiple sports, and
yeah,
I'm
and it was all yeah, and they were.
We always used to say how weird it was that the quarterbacks were doing the same workout as us. But that changed.
But it wasn't just the quarterback.
Oh, yeah,
it was it was every football player, every gymnast, every tennis player, every wrestler. I mean, they were all doing basically, the exact same thing. Now, what Penn State was saying at the time, and Penn State wasn't alone. I mean, I'm not picking this. Wasn't
everybody.
Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying this was Penn State specific. It's just, I'm covering Penn State and I'm watching this and I'm like, well, that just something just seemed odd about that. And what they would tell you is it's about injury prevention. So the strength training, but even that, I'm like, well, but the injuries that a woman's gymnast sustains are not like, they're not getting the torn ACLs on the balance beam. Like the injuries, like that just didn't make sense to me. Now, it wasn't something like I wasn't openly questioning, hey, this doesn't make but I'm just like, it's like something just seemed odd about that, where again, the flexibility required for a gymnast and the flexibility required for an offensive center on the football team would seem to be pretty drastically different. The type of strength and balance that you would need, again, for like a tight end versus a women's tennis player, that just feels like it would be different things. And again, this wasn't Penn State specific. It's just that's who I'm covering at the time. And I'm like, boy, that just seems odd. And now it is, it is very individualized, and even within a team, and not, obviously football now recognizes, we need different things for different positions, but even within, even two people at the same position may have more, hey, your speed is your strength, or your biggest asset. Your strength is your biggest. We're going to work to, help improve maybe a weakness, but we're going to really utilize the strength, and we don't want to affect the strength in a given position. So that has come a long, long way.
I think it's come the most.
But so on the medical front, I just watching this, and again, I'm not necessarily looking to get into any of the specifics here, but it is one of the things. I just think we are living in very challenging times for folks that are in positions of power, whether it be a coach, a trainer, medical doctor working with a team. Penn State has had several lawsuits, and again, I'm not picking on Penn State. It's just we're aware of this. It has been across the board where coaches are getting called on the carpet because this player or group of players says they were ostracized, they were, told that they were overweight, this and that. And we've talked about this. There is, in my mind, a fine line there. Like, we are talking about athletics. There is a component of physical fitness that is required. Certainly in sports like gymnastics, where you have to have a pretty high degree of flexibility to compete in Division I women's gymnastics. You have to compete at any level of gymnastics. But so there are some physical demands, and your ideal weight may be a component here of, again, an overall plan. Wrestling, again, there was a time when wrestlers, it was not uncommon for a wrestler to lose like 15 pounds in a 24 to 48 hour period before a weekend competition. They have drastically, following, unfortunately, some deaths at Michigan, they changed that pretty significantly, and now you have to get certified at a given weight. So you have to have a certain, there's an equation involved, but you have to be hydrated and be able to make a weight. And, there's guidelines in that, depending on whom you believe. I'm not sure how strictly now everybody is adhering to it, but you're not supposed to be using the rubber suits or the saunas or any of that collegiately anymore. But at the very least, again, there is the certification process for weights to try to at least substantially lessen the risks of, significant or dire consequences of the weight cuts. Now, wrestlers are still cutting weight. They're still, but it's pretty rare now, at least that I'm aware of a guy like within the 24 to 48 hours before the competition losing more than like 5 pounds. And that's, again, depending, if you're an upper weight, it might be 5, even 6 pounds. But, the lower weights now, most of those guys are within a couple of pounds. And you go through a workout, just wrestling in the wrestling room, you're going to lose a couple of pounds. So those guys, there's much better weight management these days at the collegiate level in that regard. Guys
and athletes know their bodies better now. We didn't
For
know
sure.
crap, dude.
Yeah.
I'm 30 years ago. We didn't have a weight program in my high school. Didn't have it.
But there are.
I'm going to say this. Think about my hero growing up was Dr. J. Do you think Dr. J or anybody in the NBA touched a weight before the 1990s? Tiger Woods is a guy who bought strength training into golf.
Yeah.
That was the late 90s when people were like, wow, he's really on to something here. This is insane. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's today. So yes, one, athletes are much more, generally speaking, much better educated about all of the different components. Parents are, I think, much more aware of all of these things. Coaches. So this is, the old school, and probably for the better. The old school coach of, listen, you just do what I say no matter what. Like, that doesn't fly very often, if at all, anywhere anymore. Now, it doesn't mean that the coach isn't in charge, and it doesn't mean occasionally players won't have to do things that they don't like or that they even question. But just listening to the back and forth a little bit with this lawsuit. So, again, we've had lawsuits against coaches where the coach was
negligent,
too hard on the athletes, and that's oversimplifying it. But I do think there's a lot of gray areas, and I think we've talked about this a little bit over the years. Like, there are, if a coach comes up and punches a player, like, everybody across the board is like, okay, you've gone too far. If a coach says you got to run an extra lap because you were late to practice today, I think pretty much everybody's okay with that. It's the in-between stuff, and there's obviously a whole lot there in between where, okay, what is where have you gone too far? What is the line that can't be crossed? Again, you need to be physically fit to be an athlete in intercollegiate athletics. You want a coach, or you should, my opinion, want a coach who pushes you a little further than you think you are capable of going. That is part of what a coach does. Oh, you think you're giving me 100%? Let me show you that you've got a little more to give. Now, again, we've learned a lot over the years about keeping water breaks, keeping folks hydrated, giving them rest. I mean, there is a point at which, again, it's diminishing returns. We're going to keep you here for 3 hours. Well, that last hour now, you're not helping from a physical standpoint the athlete get any better. So there's a lot of things there. And again, I read through these lawsuits that have come up at Penn State and elsewhere against coaches, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, was the coach too hard? Maybe. You listen to the athlete tell the story, and it's like, oh man, yeah, that sounds too much. And then you hear the coach, it's like, well, no, I was just trying to get the best out of it. And man, I don't know. And it's kind of the same way. So with medical doctors, and it's much the same way with coaching. Again, there's going to be different styles, and there's going to be different degrees of knowledge, right? Like, not all medical trainers on all of the staffs are created equal. Like, some of them are much more cutting edge, up to date on everything that's happening, can try more creative approaches. Some are just, yep, we're just going to do the bare minimum. This is what we've always done. This works. We're going to stick with it. And you get into some, and doctors are, and it's not all of them, but notoriously not great communicators, right? Like, they know the science that they're in. They know the terminology. I mean, I just know, and I have a very good doctor, but it's like sometimes she's spewing stuff at me, and I'm like, I have no idea what you just said. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I was trying to explain. I'm like, I get it. And
we also have wives too, Jeff. And they say stuff, and we're like, okay,
yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
But trying to navigate that, I do think, is really difficult for doctors. And I think one of the things, and again, I'm not here to pretend that I know or understand everything that went on between Scott Lynch and James Franklin and anybody else that may have been involved.
Yep.
But we did a thing, I think, last week with youth sports. Like, let the players play, parents parent, coaches coach, officials officiate. But and I believe in that. But I don't have a problem with parents questioning coaches, like legitimately. Hey, coach, why are you doing that this way? I think that's a legitimate, concern to have it as a parent. I'm not saying you can't do it, not saying quit doing it with my kid. Hey, just can you explain to me why you're doing that this way? And a good coach ought to be able to come back to you. Well, yes, it's because we've seen the results over the years. This is, evidence-based science, or it's just, man, we found that our kids really respond when we coach this way, whatever it may be. Questioning is okay. Same thing with, I don't have a problem with a coach, umpire. What did you see there? Why did you make that call? No problem with that. Now, hey, that's not what happened, blah, 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 I'm getting in your face. Okay, that's different. But I don't have a problem with questioning. I don't have a problem with a coach. Doc, you're saying he can't play. He's saying he can run. Can you explain to me what's happening here? Because my guy is saying he's good to go. I think that's legitimate. I think you need, and as a doctor, you need to be able to say, well, yeah, he's feeling okay, but the bone isn't properly healed yet.
And
it needs another, whatever it is. All right. Like, you need to have that communication. And we've talked I mean, and still today, going like there is a difference between being hurt and being injured. And at the highest level of athletics, you need to be able to play hurt, right? Like no NFL player through the playoffs. I mean, even, by week 2 or 3, but certainly when you get to the playoffs, there's not a single player on any of the rosters. It's like, man, fresh as a daisy, 100%, absolutely nothing wrong with me at all. Like they're all fighting some, I'm just not feeling 100%. So again, playing hurt is a requirement. It's funny. I've been talking my kiddo is 8, almost 9, and we've been talking a lot. He's into baseball right now, and we've been watching more games here and there, and he's trying to get an idea of how much a fastball hurts. And we actually talked about we were listening to Fox Sports the one morning, and LeVar and Brady and Jonas were talking about actually, I think it was one of their questions of the would you rather game that they do from time to time, which some of those, by the way, are hilarious. If you've not listened to that show, listen to Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. They have a lot of fun. It really is an entertaining show. But one of the things they do is would you rather. And the one day it was, would you rather get hit by a fastball, a major league fastball, or, and I don't remember if they specified where, because that became, I think they didn't initially, or go across the middle and take a shot in an NFL game where you're the receiver and you get belted. And it was interesting discussion. But so the Mad Turtle, my kiddo, is like, Dad, how much does getting hit by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball hurt? And it's like, well, I mean, it hurts. Like there's no way around that. Like, but you see these guys are running down. I mean, now depending on where, like it can actually injure you. And we've been talking about that. So, he twisted his ankle the other day and I'm like, you're hurt. You can play through, like I'm watching him. I mean, and he's running and you're good. You can run. You're okay. Might hurt a little bit, but well, again, you get hit by a fastball, that hurts, but you play through that. Now you get a fastball, it takes, breaks your nose, knocks you out, whatever it may be, breaks your elbow. Yes, all kinds of things. Yes, now you're injured. That's a different degree. But having that effective communication with a coaching staff, kids' family, medical staff, and it's hard because different people, again, different people are going to draw the lines at different places, right? It's, a separate discussion, but similar. It's just like getting teased versus being bullied, right? Like I can tease you about, a shirt that I think, man, boy, that's a loud shirt. Well, that's teasing and we move on. If every day, as a kid, you come into the classroom and I'm making fun of what you're wearing, well, at some point there, after a couple of days of that, like now that's crossed the line into bullying. Like you're not teasing anymore. Like now you're just flat out bullying a kid. Again, I think some kids and families have unrealistic expectations of what a medical staff and a coaching staff needs to do. I think some medical staffs and coaching staffs have an unrealistic expectation of what they need to share with kids, families about different situations. And somewhere in there, you've got to find that kind of happy medium where, okay, we're all on the same page. I at least understand why we're doing this way, and you move forward. But in this day and age now, Goon, where you have the transfer portal, where you have all the other things that are in play, I think this becomes a bigger challenge. And again, I'm not talking Penn State specific. I just think across the board, medical staff, mental health evaluations. I mean, we've talked about that. That has changed. I mean, the idea that anybody would get a mental health day in competitive big-time athletics, I mean, it was absurd. There are people that still think it would be absurd. There are more people now that, well, no, man, if you are like, you need it, you need it. Like, let's get that figured out and accommodated. Are you going to have people that abuse that? Yep. Do you need to monitor that? Yep. Are different people going to draw the lines at different places there? And okay, that's too much. Like, we need you here at practice so that we're on the same page with what we're doing. Well, how many practices do you need to be at? Where is that mental health? Where does the crisis line come into play? I mean, this is on top of all the other stuff we've talked about that are challenges and problematic for college athletics. But that communication part, Goon, is just huge right now. I mean, arguably it always has been, but you have to have that communication. Again, athlete, family, coach, medical staff, and the other components too, but stemming off of the lawsuit here, that it's just something that needs to be understood. Again, doesn't have to be agreed upon completely necessarily, but you've got to have at least enough of an explanation where everybody feels comfortable with, okay, man, I understand why you're doing this. Makes sense. Let's move forward with that. Or you've got to figure out a different, either a different group that works together, or a different school if it's a kid and family that are uncomfortable with the given scenario and the way it's playing out. Real quick, you're listening to WFXS, Pleasant Gap State College. Go ahead.
And every dynamic is different when it comes to age. I mean, not every high school has a trainer or they have a EMT at the game type of thing, and they're going to sit there and say, of course they don't know the kid. They're just going to defer and say, he has a twisted ankle. That's not. But you watched the Mad Turtle run around with a sprained ankle last night.
Yes,
and you're the one who's going to be able to say, you know what, he's okay. He's not hurting. But if you did see him hurting, you're going to say, hey, I wouldn't, let's get him out of there.
Although I will say, and this is where, again, to me, it gets tricky because we had a kid on our Little League team earlier this year where he took a fastball and hit his hand. It's like, all right, shake it off. Well, it ended up, he did have a broken finger. Now it wasn't. I mean, nobody was like, tough it out. He came in. He's like, man, it's really hurting me. And we looked at it. It's like, oh, you might. Yep, we'll get mom and dad. But so sometimes, like, and that's what I'm saying is it. And especially if you have a kid who gets hurt a lot, not injured, hurt, right? Then they come off. It's like, this is hurting, that's hurting. It's like, okay, well, shake it off. And then the one day you're like, shake it off. Nope, it turns out they actually broke their foot or broke their hand or whatever it may be, right? Like, and we all, I mean, I've had a bunch of parents with stories like that over the years where it's like, man, we thought he was okay. Like, yeah, he was saying, well, Mad Turtle had a situation where he was at we had a scout cleanup day and he ended up getting stitches, but he came down, he's like, something went into my leg and it hurts. And it's like, okay. And he's walking and it's like, okay, well, shake it off type thing, basically. And then he's like, well, it feels like something's running down my leg. And it's like, well, there's no hole. Well, there was a hole. We just couldn't see it, but it was like just a little point that went up in there. But when you pull down his rain pants and the sweatpants, it's like, sure enough, here's blood coming down the leg. And it's like, yeah, we ended up getting it cleaned up and looking at it. It's like, oh, yeah, might need to go to the ER and ends up getting stitches. So, I think at one point in the trial, there was a parent of a kid at Penn State who I'm forgetting now what the accusation was against Lynch, but basically malpractice. And the case ended up, getting dismissed. But, this is the other thing is just like coaches make mistakes, umpires make mistakes. Yes, doctors are going to make mistakes. Like they're dealing with, the trainers are going to make mistakes. Like you are dealing with a lot of people. A lot of days you're trying to evaluate a lot of things. And again, not every human body reacts the same. So now there's certain things, I've learned just, again, I talk to Dan Monthly a lot, and I've learned a lot. And it's like, well, okay, there are certain things you can tell. Yep, that knee is unstable. Like that, you got to get, we got to get that checked out. Or, with the concussion protocol, okay, you're not remembering your birthday. We need, like, there's certain things that, yes, but every now and then, right? Like I think it was like a X-ray came back and it's showing no fracture. And I just know my wife has had some issues where it's like, yeah, the X-ray is, it's not showing anything. It's like, we know there's something there. Like we've been through this. And then sure enough, they end up doing, I don't even know, MRI or something else. And it's like, oh, yep, there is, a hairline fracture there or this there.
Stress.
There's a lot of different moving parts.
I have another one for you.
With all of this.
If it's game day, you have adrenaline going too, so you don't know the doctor's trying to ask you.
Yeah.
Does this hurt? Does this not hurt? Does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does this not hurt? What's going on? What do you feel? Do you feel pain? Do you feel burning? Do you feel this or that? And you're in the middle of a competition. You have no idea what in the hell's going on. And if you just know that you can't put weight on it and you're really, really hurting, that's it.
And if it's a championship competition, you're lying, right? If you're an athlete, you're lying. Well, now if it ends up injured worse, like who's at fault there? Yes, the doctor probably should check it out too. But if you're saying no, it's fine. Again, that we get in what I think are a lot of really gray areas where. Then later in a courtroom, it may appear black and white. And again, I'm not talking specifically here about the Lynch Penn State case, but I can see, but based off of that, I can see where, man, a coach is thinking one thing in terms, man, I'm just asking, like, what, it doesn't seem, it seems bizarre to me that this guy can't play. He's telling me he wants to play. I'm watching him do the stuff right like that. I can see as a coach.
It's like, man, this is an important 3 weeks.
Yes, this is an important game. Whatever, like that makes sense. That medical doctor is looking at one way. I can see where a doctor could feel that, man, the coach is pressuring me when the coach is just no. I'm looking for an answer. Like we're doing what you want, but man, it just seems bizarre to me.
I don't like this whole trial thing. And this is that they can make these claims without having to be able to defend themselves until it's their turn to go. So you're reading these Penn Live articles and you're like, oh my God, this guy's an animal. These people are animals. This is horrible. How could they treat human beings like this and this and that? And then they get crossed and you're just like,
it's like, why anytime
it's crazy.
And yes, anytime you're getting one side of the story on anything, you ought to be questioning. Wait a second, I at least want to hear from the other side because
listen,
when you're getting one side,
when his players are coming back because he wants to figure out practice, wants to figure out who's starting that week, who does he have to move to that position? That kid could be back. I need a timetable. If anybody out there is thinking that James Franklin is saying, no, he's ready to play because I say he's ready to play, you're insane. But that's what you read those articles on Penn Live, it is almost like that is what they are saying. And then the next article comes out, it's completely contradictory to what they were saying because it was the defense talking.
And trying to sort through all of that, again, I think can be very challenging for all involved. I mean, we've talked about it before, Goon, and we talked about coaches and all the different things they have to take into account. how about being a college athletic director or an administrator in this day and age where, again, anytime anybody makes any accusation, like you've got to check it out. Well, if it is a he said, she said, and it's a student athlete, right? And you don't take action, well, then the student athlete is, you were negligent, you didn't do your job. I'm telling you, you could not pay me enough.
Well, I mean, look at the Pat
to be
Chambers
a college
it was
administrator.
definitely a coach said versus a player said, but the coach did say it. But did he mean it the way that the kid was trying to portray him being saying it? And the answer is absolutely not.
Yeah.
But on paper, it does look bad. Optics.
Yeah, I don't even think
common
that
sense is out the window, Jeff. Come on.
Nearly as bad as
common sense is no longer.
It was portrayed. We'll take a break here. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Your hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
You're listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We're at Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be. Our home away from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. On Tuesdays at 4, meaning it's already underway. It is the all-you-can-eat wing buffet. Great opportunity to come on down and check out the wonderful different flavors they have for those wings. You can come on down and watch the sports action, whether it's the beloved Pirates, the slumping Philadelphia Phillies.
Stop it.
Or anything else in the world of sports. You can come on down and enjoy it. Again, great service here, great food, great beverages, and we strongly encourage you to come on down and enjoy to your heart's content. few other things. Well, one programming note here, just locally on the radio station front. Tomorrow afternoon, a couple of things are going to be happening. We will have the debut of Landon Tengwall's new show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. That show will normally air from 4 to 5 on Wednesdays, but tomorrow's debut will actually air from 3 to 4. It'll follow Keystone Sports kickoff show with Jim Galani, which will air tomorrow from 2 to 3. Again, normally from 3 to 4 on Wednesdays, but we'll move those shows back an hour, and they will cover the 2 to 4 time slot tomorrow, so that at 4 o'clock we can bring you the District 6 AA baseball championship game with Bald Eagle area taking on West Branch. That game will get underway at 4 o'clock at Mount Aloysius College. And we'll have live coverage with Todd and Norm Brown for you right here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. So looking forward to that. And then we'll be back here on Thursday with yet another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. And also over the weekend. Well, have you ever been whitewater rafting?
No.
First time in my life that I went. Now we went on like class 1 and 2. So it was a very family friendly, I think 4 years of age and up were okay on this. So it was both Reggie and my first time whitewater rafting. And my wife has done it a bunch of times over the years. But we had a great time up in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. And it was fun reading through Jim Thorpe. I actually did a paper on Jim Thorpe many, many years ago in high school. And he is just a fascinating person to study. Arguably the greatest athlete of the 20th century. There are some, and I'm probably among them, that would argue, and you get into some dangerous territory here. I would argue he was the greatest athlete ever. Now, one of the caveats to that discussion is
the caveat today.
Is the fact that it's all relative, right? Like Jim Thorpe, to go to our earlier discussion, he was not strength training and watching his diet and all of those things that today's athletes are. So if you are comparing like the best athlete, whoever you think that is today, to Jim Thorpe, and like if you put Jim Thorpe up against that person today, well, yes, obviously the athlete today has all kinds of competitive advantages. But if you took the athlete today and took away all of the extra training and all of that and put him back in that era, and again, that's where it gets, because we get into discussions every now and then about Penn State athletes and like Jesse Arnell or Barney Ewell and some of the great athletes that have come through Penn State. And you know, obviously, well, LeVar Arrington was 10 times with that. Okay, but LeVar also had, and LeVar was a terrific natural athlete, obviously. But it's just very hard to compare, because there's no question that the training and everything in terms of the preparation is better today. So it's impossible, and it's impossible anyway across eras, even if you took all of that stuff out.
Absolutely.
Trying to compare somebody in the 1920s that I never saw, you know, a Jesse Owens or a Jackie Robinson. I never got to see those athletes compete. I've heard the stories. I've watched you know, what I can with the clips. I have no idea. I mean, really. But Jim Thorpe was an unbelievable athlete. We can at least safely say that. Many argue that he was the greatest athlete, again, of the 20th century. And it was just neat. That town is really neat. The first time I had ever been to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
What river? Susquehanna?
And it's the Lehighton.
Okay.
And it was neat. It was a fun experience, but fun just reading through some of the history again of Jim Thorpe and all that's involved. And it got to I understand people's desire to do it, and I think it's fun. The whole Mount Rushmore idea of greatest athletes just at Penn State. I don't know, even nationally. I mean, there's like hundreds in both cases of people that I think would be deserving of consideration, even with Penn State Wrestling. I had somebody on I think it was a podcast. It's like, who would be your Mount Rushmore of Penn State Wrestling right now? I'm like, I wouldn't dare carve one out. Because if you pinned me down, to use the wrestling terminology, and it's like, all right, you have to put 4 names out there.
That was fair.
I would really, I would really, really struggle. I really would, because there are different components to it. Like Andy Motter, I don't remember seeing. I'm not sure. I might have actually seen him compete a time or two, but I would have been like 5, 6 years old. I have heard the stories. He was obviously a terrific wrestler. John Fritz, I don't remember as a wrestler at Penn State. So like my memories of Penn State go back to like the late 70s. And so, but even there, like Jimmy Martin and Kerry McCoy would be up there for me. Yep. Scott Lynch and Carl DeStephanis would be up there for me. Greg Alinsky, even though he didn't win a national title, would be up there for me. But, even in the Cale era, I mean, you have Ed Ruth, David Taylor, Zane Rutherford, and then Jason Nolf and Bo Nickel. And now, obviously, you have Aaron Brooks and Carter Starace. And now you're starting to see the next generation come through with Levi Haynes, Mitchell Messenbrink. And it's like,
is there a front back
you're going to pick, 4 of those guys to say that's definitively it. No way. But I think Jim Thorpe, where I was originally going with that is I think Jim Thorpe would be on most people's, most athletic historians anyway, would be on the Mount Rushmore of greatest athletes that the United States has ever produced. That would be a very hard list to whittle down.
I think you named Jim
well.
Brown. I mean, he was quite possibly the best player at 2 different sports.
Yep.
So Jim Thorpe, I mean, you'd have to throw them. It's a lot of truth or whatever. We don't even know exactly the whole thing that was going on with him. But who right now? Who do you think right now currently is the best athlete in sports?
Boy, that is.
I mean, I'm sitting here. You've been talking.
If you're talking, I'd almost have to limit it to United States because I'm just not familiar enough with like there might be
in our world
a highlight player that's a phenom, and I'm like I don't know. So yeah, in the United States right now, that is a really good question. I mean, LeBron would have to be up there, right? Like, I mean, even now, but certainly in terms of the breadth of his career. I mean, he's got to be on the short list of consideration anyway.
Athlete.
Yep.
I'm with you. Do you think he could have played another sport?
I do. I mean, yeah, I think like he, and it's hard, but yeah, yes. Do I think if he had trained to be a tight end that he could have done that? Yes. I have no idea what his skating prowess is, but my guess is, I think his athleticism would have translated to
I will say
a bunch of different
basketball
sports.
Players in our society, because of the sheer size of those dudes, what they do athletically is just absolutely astounding.
Yeah, I will tell you,
LeBron James is taller than me, and he has a 40-plus inch vertical leap, and he's 36 years old.
Well,
unbelievable.
And I will tell you, Bo Nickel is a freak athlete.
One of those guys who just does.
I mean, like, I do think that is a guy that if he had put his mind to, that football was going to be what he focused on, or you name the sport. Like his body is just the combination of like he has a freakishly good athletic body. Like he can jump, he can run, he has power, and he knows how to use that power to the football, utmost.
He can bulk.
And he also has just the mindset, the mentality. I mean, there's a different level of focus there.
If he picked up a golf club, never having touched it before, how good would he be?
Pretty darn good.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah, pretty darn
so
good.
I want you to ask me who would be
even better than me.
Who has not been invited to play anything in the last 12 years. My career here, I have always said that OJ was the best athlete I ever played with. Now, OJ played baseball here at Penn State. He played football here, and he was very, very good at both. And I played basketball with OJ, and he's damn good at basketball. I played golf with OJ, and he's damn good at golf type of thing. With that said, you're talking about Bo Nickel. I'm going to say Brian Gelsheiser. It's insane. I mean,
yeah, he was
wacko when it comes to like freakish.
Yeah,
like athlete. Like he was a quarterback in high school. He played middle linebacker here at Penn State. He ended up not making the NFL and then going pitching in for the Kansas City Royals for 2 years.
Yeah,
who does that? He took 5 years off from the sport. Like that's insane. I mean, I go back to but right now I'm like sitting there. LeBron is definitely one. I mean, you got to say I know you didn't say international. Usain Bolt. I mean, did you see the guy from South Carolina? He ran track this weekend. He plays football for South Carolina. He's a freshman at South Carolina from D.C. We were recruiting him last year and committed to Michigan and then decommitted because he got a big payday from South Carolina. He's 6'5", 240 pounds, and he's qualified for the 100 and 200 in the Olympics. Let's put this in perspective.
Well,
he is 6'5", 240 pounds, and he ran a 10.12 100 and a 20.20 200. So he had the exact same speed for 100 and 200 in 2 different races, and he is 6'5", 240 pounds. Now, Tyreek Hill is widely considered the fastest man in football and stuff like that, but he's 5'6", quick, this and that. So, I mean, the longer distance would help the taller guy, but this guy is right behind him, but he is 6'5", 240 pounds. I just could not believe what I was reading. And then you see the guy running, and you're like, holy crap, Usain Bolt's 6'6".
Oh, yeah.
250 pounds. He's enormous.
Yeah.
But you said, I'm just trying to think, like, we had Bo Jackson growing up. We had Deion Sanders growing up. Like, that dude, like, I am not a Deion Sanders fan. I do not like what's going on in Colorado. I do not like it whatsoever. Yeah. I think it's all going to come crashing down soon. That's just my opinion. It's just how I feel. But athletically, dude, I think one of the hardest things to do in this world is hit a home run in Major League Baseball. And he was doing that. And he wasn't even practicing for it. He was playing football, and then he's coming in and playing for the Braves and the Yankees, hitting home runs. And Bo Jackson the same freaking way. It's like, holy crap, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's again, there's so many different ways to measure too. Like like you're saying, all right, if you're a great athlete, can you play different sports? Well, probably, but I mean, so many of these guys specialize at such an early age, so it's hard to, like, could Sidney Crosby have been a great something else? Possibly. He got so focused on hockey and was obviously a phenom at an early age.
I'll bite my tongue.
But that's a guy that I mean, his athleticism and his eye-hand coordination. Like, if he had decided at age 6, listen, I'm going to focus on baseball. Yeah, he's probably would have become a great baseball player.
You think?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and again, part of it is
correlates over to hockey does correlate to baseball. You think
it's part of it is the mentality of these guys. I don't know that it necessarily correlates, but I mean, I don't know that I don't know that a lot of these sports necessarily correlate with one another. But I think if you focus,
I would think golf. personally, because I've seen golfers, hockey players play golf, and you're just like, holy crap, man. It's the hand-eye of just whacking a ball, and it's amazing to me what they can do. But I just don't see Crows because he doesn't have the physical prowess. He's only 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, I think.
That's the only thing that's going to hold me back with him saying something like that. I just don't see him. Baseball players, are they a little bit bigger? But you're right. If he had wanted to be a baseball player at age 7, he would have bulked up and been a lot bigger than he is up here. I know that the legs are huge because of hockey.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that's necessarily true. Depending on what position you're playing, but there's some guys that are not real big at outfield, shortstop, second base. You don't need to be 6'2", 220 to play baseball.
I'm a size queen, Jeff. Look at me. I'm a size queen, buddy. Come on now.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We're back with a final segment on our Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Your hands it, busboy. Your wings suck. I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half-century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Haw-Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Haw-Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Haw-Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in here on this Tuesday afternoon. Again, at Quaker Steak and Lube, the all-you-can-eat wing buffet is underway. Come on in and enjoy that here this evening. And did want to just broach this because, again, I don't think this is a Penn State specific thing, but it's a very well-researched article. Some may disagree with some of the conclusions, but John Hook at statecollege.com posted a column earlier today. And the headline is questions remain about Penn State's Beaver Stadium renovation decision. I don't necessarily want to revisit that again, to be honest with you at this point. I mean, it's past. I think there's some concerns with it, but it's, again, if you're a Penn State fan at this point, I think you have to hope for the best, and that some of the projections, which I argued thought were maybe a little too rosy, you just have to hope that they now come to fruition so that this thing works. And I think it's important that it works now for not just the football program's sake, but for all of Penn State's sake. I suspect that this is a Penn State-focused column, but my guess is that the numbers here are not far off, and I could be wrong about that. Again, I haven't done the research. John Hook did a lot of research on Penn State, at least. But some of these numbers are just staggering. Let me just get back to because he talks about the fact that the revenues at Penn State, as a result, mostly of the TV contracts, have gone up dramatically. The money coming in to the athletic department has gone up dramatically since 2010 or 2012. But also, the money out has gone up dramatically.
I don't want to hear this.
Between 2011 and 2023, and again, this is John Hook, all credit to John Hook, statecollege.com. Between 2011 and 2023, annual revenue increased from $116 million to $202 million at Penn State. That is an increase of $86 million a year, which sounds great, except where did that money go? And this is one of the things, and again, this has nothing to do with Pat Kraft, Neely Bendaputi, anybody I shouldn't say anybody, but the top of the administration now. This is prior to them coming in and accepting their roles. But you do wonder, with the stadium renovation project, if maybe some of the money that was, again, the revenue increased from 116 to 202 million in a 12-year period. $86 million a year the revenue went up by. Where did that money go?
Hold on. This is athletics.
Correct.
Okay.
Coaching salaries increased from $14 million to $38.6 million. That is an increase of $24.4 million.
Per year?
That is almost 3 times what it was in 2011, from $14 million to $38.6 million. Support staff and administration compensation increased from $11.5 million to $39.3 million. That is obviously well over 3 times the administrative salary, an increase of $27.8 million.
You're not throwing assistant coaches in that administrative thing. That's the head coach's salaries or all coaches' salaries?
No, the coaching salary was the first number.
Okay,
the coaching salaries increased from 14 to 38.6 million. This is not coaching. This is support staff and administrators.
Our coordinators are in that. It's not just the head coaches in that first number. Okay, I got you.
That cost went from $11.5 million to $39.3 million, which is an increase of $27.8 million. More than triple what it was 12 years previous. Of the $86 million in new annual revenue between 2011 and 2023, $52.4 million of that went to employee compensation. Over 60% of all the new revenue generated over the course of that 12-year period went into compensation for athletic department employees. During that time, and now this is John Hook writing, this is debatable, I think. During that time, Has our fan ticketing experience gotten better? Has our venue arrival experience gotten better? Has our game day experience gotten better? Have the things that affect us, the fans, improved? I would contend they have not. And in some ways, they've gotten worse. Now, I would agree with in some ways, they've gotten worse, but we can, debatable points there. He does point out that the one area where things have gotten phenomenally better is wrestling. Hard to argue that since the hiring of Cale Sanderson, the wrestling experience has not become much better, what with the 11 NCAA championships in the mix. John Hook writing, I'm reading directly from the column. Wrestling fandom aside, it's clear who got taken care of financially in the recent past. So, how have the student athletes fared? The people who really matter in this athletic equation. Athletic student aid has stayed relatively flat over the time as a percent of revenue. It was 13.3% of revenue in 2005, dropped down to 10.6% of revenue in 2011, and has inched back up to 11.6% last year, 2023. As far as scholarships go, student athletes have at least maintained their piece of the proverbial pie. But as far as facilities go, which affect both the student athletes as well as the fans, things do not look so good. Facilities were given 28.2% of revenue in 2005, 26.2% in 2011, but it has dropped down to 18.8% of revenue in 2023. In 2023, if facilities had been allocated the 26.2% of revenue they were in 2011, that would have translated into an additional $15 million going into facilities that year. That had been, had that been done over the course of the last 10 years, $140 million would have gone into the facilities. That could have been $140 million used to repair Beaver Stadium. No, for facilities, for any use. So again, you can argue that the money that was brought in maybe wasn't allocated as well as it could have been from 2011 through 2023.
Jeff, you can't hide I'm just going to speak as a football player.
Yeah.
You can't hide the fact that in 2011 we had 9 coaches and probably 15 support staff. Well, now we have our same 9 coaches and probably 75 administrative people in there. We just hired 2. We just hired Jordan Hill.
Yep.
We hired him. I don't think the football hired Mike Maudie, but now Mike's back in town. Athletics is, but he's coming through with the athletics. But Jordan Hill, he's not going to work for free.
Yep.
There's no position. How many positions have been created in the last 12 years?
Yep. Yeah, and wrestling. There's another story today. Wrestling is creating a. I think it's an NIL director or something along those lines that they are going to be bringing on board to help manage that part of the equation for
I
the
applied for it, Jeff.
wrestling
I was told
program.
if you can pin Cale Sanderson, the job is
there
yours.
You go. Back to the Hook column. While Big Ten revenue, this is conference, while Big Ten revenue is getting larger and larger, and the salaries of coaches and admins have gotten larger and larger, facilities and student athlete aid have not gotten larger and larger as a percentage, again, of the overall pie here. Now, that is going to change. The student athlete component. Now, how significantly, again, remains to be seen ultimately, but looking at least initially here, if it is accepted as, probably about $20 million a year that will be allocated to actually paying the student athletes. for the Power 5 conferences anyway. I don't know. It's an interesting call. I appreciate the research that it went into it. The one of the things I would like to see is how that compares, and not that it necessarily makes it better or worse if everybody else is doing the same thing. But I would be curious to see in terms of the percentages, like how does that compare to like Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and the Big Ten? How does it compare to some of the other major, football programs and athletic departments across the country? Maybe a North Carolina or Alabama, Texas, those sorts of things. Again, from a percentage standpoint, in terms of what was put back into facilities, what was put into coaching and staff. And by the way, some of the numbers, as you said, some of these positions, now people are going to argue, and I think that's fine. You'll have different opinions on, wow, listen, is that position needed? Is that position necessary? Going to be some interesting debates there. I would argue, when we brought Pat Kraft in, shortly after he was hired, we talked about his priorities, and one of his priorities was the mental health component for student athletes. So there is more money going into, mental health components, which need staffed. I could argue, and I could argue either way on it, but I could argue that some of the money that is going into staffing is going to these student athletes, to helping these student athletes. Again, if you're hiring a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? I understand that goes to administrative cost or staffing cost. But the idea is, hey, we're providing more services for our student athletes. You could argue, and again, probably could argue either way, that getting another coach or two here or there to help out, that is benefiting. We're doing that because we want more specialization, where this coach can help our kickers and punters or our, whatever, different positions, different sports, that sort of thing. I'm just saying, you can make the argument. Even at the administrative level, right? Like, you can make the argument that, hey, we're trying to do this to streamline some things. You could argue anyway. We're trying to do this to make it so that we have better channels of communication with all of the sports, so that not everything has to come into, let's just say the athletic director, and then the athletic director has to get back to 31 different programs. It's like, well, no, we want to have this administrator in charge of these programs and that administrator. So it's not necessarily as cut and dried as the column makes it sound. In terms of how those costs are being appropriated and who they ultimately benefit.
I'm going to sit there. I worked for the old man in 05 to 08.
Yep.
It was bare bones, man.
Yep.
Completely bare bones.
Well,
now, as an old soul as what I am, I'm going to sit there and say, is it excessive what we have now? But I'm probably going to say, I bet you football spends 20 to 30 times more than what they did in Joe's era.
Oh yeah,
that's an easy answer to say yes to. This is the way the world has come, and this is where football is. If we wanted to keep up, that's the thing. It's like, when Sandy threw that money at James and then put all the money into the football program, it turned into, we threw our hat in the ring in the arms race. And once you threw your hat in the ring, you were in a war. And you had to fight. That's just what we had to do at that point.
And it was a very unique situation
Yes,
with Joe Paterno, for sure.
Then how it ended was even more unique.
Well, yes. But, I mean, during his time, right, like fiercely loyal and didn't want, I mean, he certainly could have commanded a much higher salary.
Absolutely.
Much earlier
in
his career.
4 guys. We were all grad assistants, and he had his top assistant was Jeremy. Scott was in charge of the running. JT was in charge of the strength program and stuff like that. There's a dozen guys that are full paid.
So
now,
yes,
it's just in the weight room.
Now, so a couple of things I think, just in fairness, to point out is obviously the scandal took place, the NCAA sanctions took place, and so Penn State was at a critical juncture where, again, if it was like, no, we're just going to pay what we've always paid, with the circumstances that had occurred at Penn State, right, it would have been devastating. I mean, it would have resulted in a significant diminishment in terms of the competitive stature of the football program. And I think because of everything that went down and the reaction to it, there was the need for additional staff, both within the football, within the football program and within the administration, to get the, proper checks and balances and everything that was needed to, advance this thing forward for the athletic department. So, part of it was, and this is what some are arguing with the stadium, is, listen, they're to John Hook's point in this column, is that there was not enough money being invested, not just in Beaver Stadium, but facilities across the board over this 12-year period. Now, again, you could argue that, well, yeah, but what Penn State was trying to do was sustain itself. Correct. And so the facilities, unfortunately, did take a back seat, is what I suspect, like Sandy Barber and the folks involved during that period would tell you. And I don't think it's I think there's a legitimate point to be made to that end, and that Penn State was playing catch up on the salary front and the staffing front across the board. Again, not just football. And so
I got one for you.
Once you did that, then now the argument would go that now you've got to start playing catch up on the facilities part as well.
Right now.
Now, what is also changing again is this payment and the significant impact that's going to have in terms of the payment to the student athletes moving forward, and how that changes all of this in the equation. Again, we'll have to wait and see.
I'm obviously okay with the paying of players, because it's going to cost paying of athletes. It's not just players, athletes, student athletes. It's $20 million. The new deals that are coming in are going to blow that number away that what we're dealing with right now, when we're not kicking money into the NCAA. But I want to go back to some of the expenditures that we had, because we weren't spending money for a long time, even before the sanctions. Was there upkeep on Beaver Stadium going on the last 25 years? And there's a lot of people who used to work over there that don't work over there anymore. So what happened there? Why did that get cut down? Why did so many jobs get cut over Beaver Stadium, and now it got dilapidated, and now you're sitting here looking for a $700 million, everybody's whatever. So and we're going to go back to the strength and conditioning, because we're talking about this earlier, and it was just like, how much farther it has progressed in the last 20, 30 years. And, we came in at Penn State, you said that you had girls working the balance beam who were doing the same workout, the same high-intensity routine in the same workout room as the Penn State offensive line. That happened. That's true. That happened across everywhere. That's not just a Penn State. But when O'Brien came here and he changed it, when Fitz got here and JT left, we went from a ground-based, machine system type of thing that 80% of our activities were done in a football position with what JT was doing, into that was Joe wanted that done. But Bill did not want that. Bill wanted Fitz and with his Olympic strength training, power squats, power cleans, this and that, deadlifting, squat racks, bench presses, all that stuff. That's a $20 million renovation right then and there to change this whole university, not just the football program. Yep. You had to change Rec Hall. You had to change Bryce Jordan Center. You had to change Lash Building. You had to change East Area Locker Room. All those different weight rooms you had to upgrade those to what we have now, and that's a lot of money. I mean, you could see where the fact that we didn't spend a lot of money for a lot of years, and it was just like it's easy to be the grumpy old man. Oh, we're spending too much money now. I just said it in a half hour when we started this conversation 20 minutes ago, but the more I'm thinking about it, all we're doing now is we're just literally catching up right now, and it's all just going to hit us at one time with that $700 million. And I did my homework over the weekend. And I do think that we are going to have the outside stuff to maintain to take care of that $700 million. I
fingers crossed
do.
That you're right. I sincerely hope that is the case. That's going to wrap up today's show. We will be back on Thursday with another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Until then, be good and be safe, and stay tuned to WFXS Pleasant Gap Steak.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck. I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and